The sales manager would tell you like, hey, go knock on 100 doors. Maybe you talk to 30 people and maybe you sell one. But in my mind, I'm always questioning that. Well, why can't I sell like 15? Why can't I sell 20? Like, why is it only one or two? Like, what's going on?
Everybody gets kind of like focused in their own bubble and they think they know what they're talking about, especially a lot of the salespeople. They get a little egotistic.
Yeah, there's 4 types of salespeople.
What are they?
The first group is called
We have Jeremy Miner. Welcome.
I'd like to welcome.
Today's guest is the creator of NEPQ methodology and founder of 7th Level Communications, the man redefining modern sales through psychology and precision questioning. Jeremy Miner is here.
I always say every human being wears a mask. They want help, but they have that mask. So how do I get them to take that mask off willingly? That's what selling is.
When things are not going in the direction that it needs to go, sales is always blaming marketing and marketing is blaming sales. How do you handle that as a business owner?
What we do is because a lot of times they slam the door in your face, not interested, and the salesperson like, oh, this is a bad area, the people are mean, they don't have any money. In my mind, I was like, I caused that person to slam the door in my face. So I started kind of reverse engineering that process, and supposedly it worked out pretty good.
So you were tapping into the psychology of sales.
Well, even at a deeper level, like so psychology of how a human being makes decisions.
Who taught you that?
You want me to go knee deep?
Well, let's go knee deep. Welcome to another episode of A Healthy Point of View podcast. I'm your host, Sam Tejada. And as usual, we're bringing experts from all over the world to talk about health, wellness, beauty, and mindset. Today's guest, we're going to tap into the seller's mindset. And not just the seller's mindset, the seller also needs to understand the buyer's mindset. So this is for all of our people that are in business. A lot of our doctors that tune into our podcast that have their retail, out-of-pocket pay, medical practice. We're going to bring some expertise here to the table. Today, we have an expert who flew in all the way from Scottsdale, Arizona. Hopefully, he's still awake. It was a red eye. So we have Jeremy Miner. Welcome.
Hey. I'd like to welcome.
There we go.
I am here. Yeah, man,
Jeremy.
took the red eye. Mine.
red
I
eye.
feel like when it's like I have it's like half of the keynote trainings I do in podcast are in Florida. I don't know what it is. I'm like, can we get something closer? But it's like I always take the red eye. It's like an early morning flight at like 6 a.m. or like a 1, or it's like you're leaving at midnight.
Dude,
So
I love the red eye.
it's not bad.
Yeah,
It's not
every
bad.
time I go to Vegas for conferences, I'm
Yeah.
like, put me on the red eye back home.
It's not bad. Sometimes, you're, as long as you don't set like coach where you're like back there, but if you're first class, the seat will go back a little bit. So maybe you get some sleep, maybe you don't.
Yeah,
It's
just
kind of here or there.
relax and
Maybe a
enjoy
few
the
hours. You might
ride.
get a couple hours,
I agree, man. I agree. But listen, man, you're here and we got some good topics to cover
Yeah.
today when it comes to sales. And you guys got some new things, you and your company, that you guys are developing. So we're going to
Sure.
highlight that as well, too.
Sure.
But before we get into the meat and potatoes,
What do you want to know?
I want to start off with the viewers and listeners understanding who Jeremy Miner is. And I want you to start from your upbringing, from around when you were like 5 years old.
5 years old. That would be back. Grew up in a small town called Osceola, Missouri. Actually grew up on a cattle ranch.
Okay.
So my stepdad was a cattle rancher. So grew up on a 900-acre cattle ranch, about 15 miles outside of a town that had less than 800 people in it. So that
Wow.
is where I started. My graduating class maybe had 42 people in it.
Wow.
Very, very small school. So that's where my roots were started. Yeah.
All right. I mean, everything was like very tight, like a family. So your
Yeah.
upbringing was different than most people.
Worked
that are, like,
hard.
from cities.
Learned how to work. I had to get up at like 4:35 in the morning since I was probably like 6 years old. We had the dairy, the cows. We did. It's such a long time. I turned into a city slicker when I turned 18. I was like, I'm out of here. But like I remember digging post holes and like building fence and stuff. It's probably still in my brain, but like when I turned 18, I'm like, I am gone, and I went back to the ranch twice
Yeah, man.
since
So I
then.
grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so I kind of know about
breweries.
the dairy. Yeah,
Yeah.
brewers. Yeah,
Yeah.
my father actually was one of the main architects designing Miller Park,
Really?
the new
Okay.
stadium. So
That's a great
yeah.
stadium.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. So growing
I learned
up,
how to
going
work
out there.
hard.
So you know how to work hard.
Yeah.
Is daylight savings because of guys like you, right?
Dude, I don't know, man. I just like I was a slave to my parents. The parents said get up, and I had to get up. And
Make it
sometimes
happen.
we'd have practice because I played sports at a high level in high school. So we'd have practice like sometimes at 6 or 6:30 before school. So I'd be up at 4 doing chores and go to practice, and then kind of repeat the whole day.
So how the heck did you get into sales? I mean, being on a
It was kind of
farm,
by
you
accident.
know?
Yeah. So I went to school. At Utah Valley University. So I was going to become a psychologist. I was majoring in behavioral science, and I was specialized in neuropsychology, which is
Okay.
the study of how the brain works in conjunction with your nervous system. And had no intention. I didn't even really know what selling was. And going into my senior year, I got married, had my first. I'm divorced now, but I got married, had my first daughter on the way. So I had to like get a job. I was also playing baseball at that time, so I had to drop out of baseball. Had to get a job. You don't really get hired as going into your senior in school. You can't become a psychologist without a degree.
Right.
And so I got the first thing I could get. It was straight commission, door to door, selling home security systems, and that's
Really?
that's where it all started for me.
All
Yep,
right.
right there.
So how did you sell a home security system? What was your pitch?
Well, well, I mean, if you pitch, you're probably not going to do very well. So
Mm,
what I found out really early on, I probably had a different way of viewing what selling was and communication was when I first started because, the sales manager would tell you like, "Hey, go knock on 100 doors and, maybe you talk to 30 people and maybe you sell one, maybe two if you're lucky." But in my mind, I'm always questioning that. Well, why if I speak to 30, why can't I sell like 15? Why can't I
right.
sell 20? Like why is it only one or two? Like what's going on? And so a lot of times, as a salesperson, a lot of salespeople, let's say if you're door to door or cold call or anything, doesn't really matter. You you get rejected, and who do you typically blame? The
Who's that?
prospect, right? You're like, because a lot of times they slam the door in your face, not interested, and the salesperson like, oh, this is a bad area. The people are mean. They don't have any money. In my mind, I was like, okay, what did I say, or how did I say something, or how did I ask a certain question that triggered that reaction in the nervous system? So I like was reverse engineering it from the start because like that's what I'm looking for. I'm like, I caused that person to slam the door in my face because of something I said or how I said that triggered that reaction. They went into
Right.
fight or flight mode. So I started kind of reverse engineering that process and supposedly it worked out pretty
So,
good.
so you were tapping into the psychology of sales, right?
Well, even at a deeper level, like so psychology of what how a human being makes decisions.
Right.
Why do they say no compared to say yes? Like what is triggered in their brain that causes them to say yes compared to
Who
no?
taught you that though?
Well, you want me to go knee deep?
Let's go knee deep.
Well, there's a guy named Sigmund Freud. You ever heard of that guy? People do who they believe they are, right? So he taught that people make decisions based on their identity of who they believe they are. So I started learning. So let's say if you have a patient that wants to, unfortunately, end their life,
Right.
okay, that is their belief system. So that is their identity. So how do I take them out of that identity and reframe them into a new identity where they convince themselves it would be crazy to want to end their life? Instead of me telling them they shouldn't, because that goes in one ear out the other, right? So
Right.
Sigmund Freud was one of them, Milton Erickson, famous psychologist, many psychologists. That's how I started to learn how to tap in to the human mind. Yeah.
That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
there you
I
go.
like that.
That's
Have you
kind of
have
how it
you
all started. Then
have
I
you
got in the trenches and figured out because you don't learn techniques from like a psychologist on how to sell,
right.
but it's very similar to how to get a patient over to overcome whatever's holding them back in their life. It's
Right.
actually really similar. Like what's the core reason anybody doesn't buy? Because we have a fear of change, right? So any objection you get, it doesn't matter the industry, if you've got doctors there selling their services, it comes down to they say, we don't have the money, it's too expensive. I need to think it over, do more research, talk to my spouse. That just comes down to the deep core that we all have a fear of change. And what they have to do is they have to give you money first before they can see what's on the other side of that change. And that's scary. So, how do you help them overcome the fear of change where they feel like it's actually more scarier? It's there's more fear if I don't change. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Right.
Yeah,
Give,
whole,
give me
whole different
give,
level.
give the listeners of an example of that.
I mean, where do you want me to start?
Well, we're in the health and wellness industry,
Specify.
so let's talk
Okay.
about someone who's heavily obese
Okay.
coming over to the clinic and they
Mhm.
want to lose weight, right? Ozempic has
Sure.
become so
It's not
popular,
going to
they're
be
kind of
just
like,
one question. Okay. So there's a series of questions that you're going to ask. So let's say, what's the first question? Let's start here. What's the first question that comes to your mind anytime you start talking to a salesperson? Salesperson starts talking to you about anything. What question do you probably start to think about? How much is this gonna,
how much is it going to
but
cost?
why does your brain go there?
Because we're always thinking
Because
money,
we're conditioned socially
right?
to think that. Okay. So if you're going there, does that mean your prospects are probably going there too? Is that where I want to keep them in price or cost based thinking most of that conversation? Probably not, unless I want to get a bunch of objections. So how do I take them? That's called a frame. like a belief system.
Right.
How do I take them out of that belief system and reframe them into a new belief system or a new frame? Okay. Where instead of them focusing on the price or cost, they're now focusing on the end result. So why would they even come in the office in the first place? Tell me.
Right.
Why would they
Well,
come?
they want to come in and lose weight.
So they're already coming in looking for what you're offering.
Right.
So what would prevent them from getting it? Fear of change. So I'm going to start off like, let's say they come in, now, would somebody have called them already to schedule the appointment, or how would they have come in?
Yeah, they would have had
Would
to
a
get a schedule.
salesperson have done that, or just somebody like an administrative person?
Well, if they're calling the location, the salesperson would not the salesperson, the
Just the set
administration person just puts them
administration.
on the
Okay.
schedule.
So you might, you have a set down appointment. Is that typically what you do?
Right.
Because we train a bunch of nurses. Sometimes they do Zoom, sometimes they come in. So if they just came in, same things like, hey, welcome, welcome in. Looks like you booked an appointment about looking at some possible help to really lose weight and keep it off, right?
Right.
What's the end result of what you sell? To
The weight
lose
loss.
weight
Right.
and to keep it off. Okay, so it looks like you talked with Sally about looking at some possible help to really lose the weight and then keep it off, right? See, I'm already starting to take them out of price or cost based thinking to the end result, which is to lose weight and keep it off. So I'm starting to get right into it now. So you're not just asking one question, okay? Then that's a call to connection question. There's a lot more to this. Then I might go into, okay, so hey, when you were now, would they have saw an ad, or how would they have responded?
I've seen an ad.
Hey, so when you saw the ad where we were talking about X, Y, and Z, what was it that, they kind of went over that caused you to feel like, hey, maybe I need to look into this further? Well, I liked, and they start telling you why they responded, but more importantly, who do they start telling? Themselves.
Right.
See, they're starting to take themselves into the end result. So I'm still reframing them into that results based thinking. Now, there's other questions I'm going to find out, like, how much they weigh, I'm not going to say like, how much do I like, okay, so I'm going to ask a few more connection questions. Okay. Probably don't have time to go through all that. Then I'm going to find out their situation. Okay. So walk me through, like, there's going to be some situation questions. Then I'm going to say, I'm going to keep this towards the end because it's more sensitive. Now, walk me through just ballpark. What do you typically weigh right now? Just nice and soft and concerned, especially if it's a female. It's a sensitive
Right.
subject. Okay. And I say, okay, so let's say they say 150 pounds. I don't know. And then I'm going to say, okay, so you're at 150 now. Where do you really feel like you need to be? Now, watch what I do here. Where do you feel like you really like need to be? I'm going to start with need first. Like, where do you feel like you really need to, like, how much do you really feel like you need to lose? Oh, if I could lose 25 pounds, that'd be great. Well, need, people typically buy more because they want more than they need. Does that make sense? So I'm going to set this up where I'm going to build a bigger gap. So let's say she comes like, oh, if I could lose 20 pounds, it'd be great. And I'm going to say, so is that like your humble goal, or like how much do you really want to lose? Like if you really could, if you had the right plan, how much would you really want to lose? Man, if I could lose 35 or 40, that'd be even better. What did I just do to the gap? Made it
Right.
twice as big.
Right.
So now it's really hard for her or him to feel like they can do that without me. But notice how I framed it first, where I got that smaller answer, need. And then I said, well, how much do you feel like is that your humble goal, or how much do you really want to lose? Like if you really could. Notice I'm doing this. See how I'm instantly raising that amount. And now I raise the amount that they want to lose, which makes me more valuable because I build a bigger gap. That's just a few things. Now, give me an example of what they might be taking right now to lose the weight that's probably not working.
Over the counter supplements.
Like, give me an
Let's say
example of a
like
supplement.
L-carnitine, supplement from GNC or something
So,
like
so
that.
help me understand. You've been taking these, GNC, the like kind of the basic supplements.
Right.
Like, what's caused you to feel like that's not going to lose you the 50
The
pounds?
scale ain't moving.
But you see how I'm framing that.
Right.
Okay. Notice I'm not saying like, I'm not just saying, do you like what you have? Do you not like it? It's just, those are cheesy questions that the prospect knows where those lead to.
Right.
So that
Right.
you'll get a lot of vague surface level answers because they know what you're trying to do. So notice I'm going to reverse engineer that. I'm like, so hold on, you've been taking, give me a drug they might be taking.
Ozempic.
Ozempic. Okay. And I'm sure there's side effects to that.
Yeah, nausea, vomiting,
Okay.
diarrhea.
So you've been on Ozempic, Ozempic for the last year. I mean, what's caused you to feel like that's not going to lose you the weight that you really want? Well, we like it, but, and now they start to tell you what they don't like about it.
Right.
But more importantly, who do they start to tell that to?
To
Themselves.
themselves. Right.
That's self-persuasion. That's psychology.
okay.
There's a lot more to that, though. That's just kind of basic stuff I showed you
So,
there.
Jeremy, let me ask you this because
Yeah.
we're on the medical side and a lot of doctors
Yeah.
that are tuning in. And I know they have this question right now.
Yeah.
Doctors don't like to sell, right? I have a lot of doctors that
How do they view what selling is, though? Is selling something you do 2 people or is selling something you do for people?
Well, in my opinion, we're always selling because if we're
But are
not
you doing
selling,
it to them or for them?
even if you're not charging money, you're still selling something to them, right?
Everybody sells,
Right.
right? You're always selling your ideas,
But
but are you doing
they
it
don't
to
want to
them or
talk
for them?
numbers. That's the thing. So where I'm going with the question is, doctors work in conjunction with
Mhm,
other team members,
mhm,
where now it becomes a little bit different. The sales process,
mhm.
right? Where now they have their wellness coordinators or the patient advocate that's part of these meetings.
Yeah.
So what is your recommendation for these doctors, which they're so adamant? I got a lot that work for me. It's like, I don't sell, I don't talk
Do you know
numbers.
why they don't wanna sell?
They feel
Be
like it's unethical
Well, it
for the
is. Most
doctor.
sales techniques are. I mean, let's
Right.
be real, right?
Yeah.
If I'm gonna like just assume the sale in the first 2 minutes of a conversation with most I mean, most people are gonna be triggered. Like, can't assume the sale too quick. I'm gonna assume later on when I build more of a gap in trust. But most sales techniques are kind of shady. Let's just be realistic.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here's the question I'm still asking: like, is selling something you do to people or selling something you do for people? Because if I don't learn how to effectively communicate, where I can get that person's guard down
Right.
where they open up. And I always say every human being, Sam, wears a mask. Everybody wears a mask. So how do you get them to want to take that mask off and open up to you and tell you what's really going on? There's a reason why they came in.
Right.
They want help, right? But they have that mask. So how do I get them to take that mask off willingly, where they feel comfortable, where they trust you, where they want to open up to you and tell you? That's what selling is. Selling is something you do for people. If we believe it's something you do to people, like it's a bad thing, like you're manipulating them, how good are you ever going to be at selling? Not very good. Because when you try to close that sale, because if you don't close them, how do you solve their problems?
Right.
You can't solve problems unless they buy, right?
That's the truth.
That's what selling is. Now, the question is, can I master persuasion and influence and selling where it's not manipulative? Because I'm not doing it to them. I'm doing it for them. Like if I learn how to shift my tone to get the prospect's guard down, where they open up, am I doing that to them or for them?
That's for them.
For them, because if I can get them to open up and they go surface level and they give me vague, generalized surface level answers, what's the likelihood they're going to buy? Unlikely.
Right.
And if they don't buy, what happens? They stay in the status quo, nothing ever changes, and they don't lose the weight. And whose responsibility is that?
Mm.
So I just have to learn the right skills to do that. The reason why doctors don't like it is they just haven't learned the right skills. They don't feel comfortable doing it because they're using old school techniques that don't work that well.
Right. Right.
That's why.
Yep. 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 So one of the things that I've heard you say is sellers think like sellers and not like the buyer.
Sure.
What does that mean?
Well, put yourself in the prospect's shoes. Okay, especially with your industry. They're coming in for a reason. They're obviously know they have something's going on.
Right.
But most salespeople, once again, have been taught that you're doing it to them. Like you're just trying to make money, you're trying to make a commission, you're trying to sell them something. I always say this, you're not selling the thing. You're selling the results of what the thing does. You're not selling them like what are you offering them? Like a plan, like a customized plan to lose the
Right.
weight? What would that plan be called? Just give me an example.
A Vita journey plan.
A Vita Journey
Vita
plan?
journey. Yeah.
So you're not selling them a Vita Journey plan. You're selling the results of what that does for them, which maybe for her is to lose 35 pounds.
Right.
Maybe for the guy that's 53 years old and is 150 pounds overweight, you're selling him that so he gets healthy, doesn't have a heart attack, and he can walk his daughters down the aisle when they get married.
Right.
That's what you're selling, the results of what your thing does. And if you start to view selling that way, because that's what it really is, you have a moral obligation. Because if you can't sell to them and they don't get healthy, well, they're going to die early probably.
Right.
And whose responsibility? That's kind of yours.
Now,
Because
would you
yeah,
recommend utilizing those type of fear tactics throughout the sales process?
I don't what fear tactics.
That they're going to die?
I wouldn't say you're going to die. I mean, we're all going to die, right?
Right. Right.
But how do you mean by a fear tactic? So hold on. So what happens if you don't do anything about this and you never lose the weight? Is that a fear tactic?
Right.
Or is that a real question?
Yeah.
Because
And I'm not against
I'm
fear. Like
concerned for
I
you.
tell
Now,
me personally.
if I'm like, hey, you're going to die if
Yeah.
you don't take this, that's a fear
Yeah.
tactic.
Right.
That's
Right.
lame.
Yeah.
That's like manipulative.
Yeah.
But if I so so help me understand, like you're 105 pounds over. Like what's caused you to feel like losing the weight? Why so important to you now though? Well, I was thinking, my dad died when he was, late 50s and my daughters are probably going to get married in the next 10 years, and I just really want to walk him down the aisle. Is that a fear tactic by me asking that question? No. I'm getting him to self actualize why he wants to change.
Right.
It's not just to lose the weight, it's to be there for his kids, to walk his dang daughter down the aisle, or to be there to watch his son play basketball, or whatever it is. That's why he wants to lose the weight. He wants more energy to what? See, a lot of salespeople are like, oh, what's caused you to look this? Oh, I just want more energy. That's surface level. What does that even mean? Energy to do what? Well, when you say energy, how much energy do you feel you have now? So, not having the energy, like, what do you feel like not having that energy? What is it preventing you from being able to do, or maybe not be able to do as good as you once used to when you're young? Oh man, I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to hike. I used to be able to take my son play basketball. See, now I'm getting him to do what? I'm giving him to relive the pain, right? So take this to the bank. There's the two biggest reasons why a human being wants to change is pain of their current situation in their past history, okay? And then having a fear of what?
Change.
Future pain. Having a fear of future
Okay.
pain.
Future pain.
Yeah. Pain and then a fear of future pain. A lot of marketers will say, oh, it's pain and then pleasure. No, no, no. Pleasure is a distant third. Let me give you an example. What if a lady comes in and says, I want to lose 50 pounds because I want to look great in a bikini this summer? You're like, well, that's pleasure, Jeremy. No. What does she have a fear of?
Being fat.
In front of who? Other people on the
Right.
beach.
Right.
She has a fear of future pain. She just doesn't tell you.
Yeah, most people wouldn't think about it that way.
She just doesn't
Yeah.
tell you. See,
Right.
that's a difference. Okay. Pleasure is a distant third. It's pain of their current situation, where they're at now, and the past history. I could take them back in the past when they haven't been able to play ball with their son or whatever it was, and then having a fear of continuous pain or future pain.
Right.
That's why people change.
Right.
Make sense?
No, it does.
Just a
Absolutely.
bunch of boring stuff. I know.
No, I love it. So, there's something that you said about pressure triggers resistance, right?
Oh yeah.
For a salesperson who actively does that. Well, I'll let you try to break it
Well,
down
I
and
mean,
explain it
it's
for everybody to
just
understand.
look at societal norms. You're married, right? So your wedding
Yeah,
ring. When your wife pressures you to do something, what do?
hate it.
You resist. Just answered your question. It's just human behavior. It's just human behavior
Right,
101,
right.
right? So the question is,
Everybody wants to be on their own time.
yeah, the question is, here's the thing. Let me give you an example. Sigmund Freud said it best. I'm just paraphrasing. People do who they believe they are. What does he mean by that? People make decisions based on the identity of the person who they believe they are. Let me give you an example of like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? You've heard of that.
Right.
What's the success rate of Alcoholics Anonymous?
I
You
have
know,
no clue.
between 5 and 10%. Latest
Uh,
studies, 5 and 10%. Outside studies, not internal, 5 to 10% success rate. You know why? You sit around in a circle every day at these meetings and you chant back like they say, I'm an alcoholic, I'm an alcoholic, I'm an alcoholic, I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober for 30 years. I've been sober for 30 years. I've been sober for 30 years. What identity do you believe you are?
you're an alcoholic who's been sober for
And
30
what
years.
decisions do alcoholics typically make?
What's that?
What decisions do alcoholics typically make?
They don't want to drink.
They drink. Alcoholics drink. If I believe I'm an alcoholic, if people do who they believe they are. So if I believe my identity is an alcoholic, what decisions do
Yeah,
most
you're going to
alcoholics?
become an
I'm going to go
alcoholic. Right.
drink.
Yeah.
That's why there's
Yeah.
a 5 to 10% success rate, because they
Wow.
still believe they're an alcoholic.
Right. Right.
That's why hardly anybody gets out of that program after years, like not drinking any more alcohol, because they believe that's their identity. So let's say you talk with a prospect and like, I've tried some of these programs and they never worked out. What type of objection do you think you're going to get at the end?
They're already going to think it's not going to work.
Yeah, yours is not going to
Yeah.
work, or they're going to say, I want to think it
Right.
over, or we don't have the money. They're going to give you some story that has really nothing to do with it. So I want to reframe that. And how do I take their fear of change, fear that it won't work out, and build them into identity of a person where they know it's going to work out? I'm going to say something like this. Wow, I mean, it sounds like you're the type of person that never gives up. Because I talked to, your spouse, I mean, she's lucky to have a provider like you that is that forward thinking and never gives up. Because I talk to a lot of people, and you'd be surprised how a lot of them, they let some like negative, like, you know, experience from some like bad, company just prevent them from ever like getting a plan and actually losing the weight. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
for you, like never giving up, like being that responsible, is that something you were born with or something you had to learn? So what did I just do?
Right.
I took what maybe you saw as a negative thing, like, oh, this hasn't worked out in the past. And I said, wow, it sounds like you're the type of person who never gives up. So see, I'm starting to change the identity.
That's a motivational thing right there.
You see what I'm
You just
saying?
motivated
Because
them.
they're
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
I'm like,
100%.
wow. Now listen what I said. Sounds like you're the type. That's an identity. The type of person who never gives up. See, now I'm shifting it where that's a good thing. They're never giving up. That's why they're there. You know, your spouse. Now let's say if I'm talking to a lady boss, I'm going to shift it. Your spouse. I mean, he's lucky to have an independent woman like you that never gives up and knows that she has to make sometimes the hard decisions herself for the family. Because I talk to a lot of people, and you'd be surprised how many of them they let some like negative, like experience from some bad, health and wellness company completely hold them back from getting the right plan to losing the weight. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Oh, no, no. I mean, for you, like being that responsible where you never give up, is that something you were born with or something you had to learn? Now, I did a lot of nuances in there. What else did I do? Did you catch it?
I didn't.
Okay, let me you want to go. This is really important. You learn how to identity frame and change the ball game for you. It sounds like you're the type of person who never gives up. That's an identity
Right,
type. No one's going to argue with that. Is going to say, "Nope, I am the person who gives up." Nobody's going to argue with that, are
right.
they? They're going to be like, "Yeah, that's me," even if it's not. And then notice what I did. Your spouse. What do you ever get the spouse objection?
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to
The team
start
gets
to
that all the
I'm going to
time.
start to pre I'm
Oh,
going to
I gotta
start to
talk to my wife. I gotta do
So,
this.
how do I prevent that objection from happening? I'm going to start to deframe that objection out of their mind. Your spouse, she's lucky to have a provider like you. So, if I'm talking to a male, what is he wired to do? Provide, protect,
Right.
right? So, I'm going to use that alter ego. Your spouse, she's lucky to have a provider like you that is that responsible and never gives up. Now, is he going to argue with that? Nope, I'm not responsible and I always give up. No, he's gonna be like, yeah, that's me. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
Okay.
right.
That's a positive identity. And then I'm going to go negative identity. Look what I do in the next step. I talk to a lot of people, and you'd be surprised having them. They let some like negative experience from some like bad health and wellness company completely hold them back from ever losing weight. You know what I mean? Now, does he want to let a negative experience from a crappy wellness company hold him back from ever losing the weight?
Not
Probably not.
anymore,
So
right?
he's gonna be
Yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah.
not me. And then what I do at the end, I strengthen the frame by doing this. So for you, like being that forward thinking where you never give up, is that something you were born with or something you had to learn? Whatever they say there, they start to go. So it's like, oh, I've always been that way. Or like, no, I had to learn that. What identity are they starting to shift into?
So you've opened them up at that point.
I'm
Yeah. They're
building them
yeah,
into the
yeah.
identity of the prospect who becomes a buyer.
Right.
See, most salespeople have been taught this crazy thing from traditional sales training that you got to qualify the prospect to see if they're qualified for your thing. That's bullshit. It's not like every prospect you talk to is probably qualified. When you say it's not like you're selling a $10 million
If
solution.
they've walked in through the door, they're
You're
qualified.
not selling a $10 million solution to a homeless
Right.
person, right? It's not like they can't get the money for what you're offering
Right.
if they really want
Yeah.
it, right? It's they're already currently spending that money on something else, which in their mind is more of a priority than what you're offering. So
Right.
all I have to do is how do I shift where that money they're already spending and something else that they view as a priority now shifts over to what your thing is the number one priority. That's me changing their identity in that conversation. Right?
How do you use data throughout that sales process?
How do you mean?
So in the medical field, you got a lot of different data points with your patient, right? If it's weight loss, we're doing a body composition analysis to see exactly what their weight is made up of. You
Okay.
got blood work, you
Mhm.
got other things like the VO2 max, genetic testing, all of these different data
Okay.
points
Yeah.
that show us what they actually need,
Sure.
right? We check your vitamin D3
Sure.
levels, they're
Yeah.
deficient. You need
Okay.
it.
So let me give you an example. Let's say that you find out that I've got something bad in my blood or something. Tell me how you would tell me that right now, and I'll show you how to tweak it.
Well, I would start off with, hey,
Would you do
Jer,
it in the presentation? Where would you do it?
no, I would actually be talking to you. I'd have the actual data with me.
Sure.
Says, hey,
Okay.
there's certain
So do
things.
you ask some questions first, then have them take the test, or they take the test before they come in? How does it work with you guys?
Yeah, so there's a lifestyle questionnaire
Mhm.
and assessment that's done,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So we can understand how they're living their life to life,
Mhm.
their daily life. And then we do the different testing. And
Mhm.
then once all of those results are back,
Mhm.
then we actually sit down with them, doctor and wellness coordinator,
Yeah.
and we go through all of their
So tell
lab
me how you'd
analysis.
bring it up. Just start talking like you normally. I mean, your industry is a big space. We train. I'm sure
Yeah,
you
I
use
mean,
that.
when we sit down with them, we're not
Mm,
gonna hit them with the bad news first, right? We're gonna talk about a lot of the good things that came out in their blood work that they've been working on that, they're within optimal ranges.
okay.
But, Jeremy, there are a few things here that we gotta talk about and kinda see exactly what in your lifestyle is causing these levels to be outside of the optimal ranges. And
Mhm.
then from there, that's where we start to talk, let's say the D3 that we were talking about.
Okay.
See, D3, you naturally get it from the sun. We're always indoors,
Mhm.
right? We're fully clothed. That's not how God made us.
Mhm.
So it's very common for people to be deficient in D3. Now, let me tell you, D3 is something that wards off 6 different tumors, right?
Yeah.
It's something
Now,
that upregulates your
do you
hormones.
want me to go over like what not having the right amount of D3 typically causes as far as like different diseases? Would that help you if I showed you some of that?
Right.
See, I'm just going to frame that a little bit better instead of
Putting it in
telling,
a question form.
yes, instead of
Okay.
telling them that. Because you tell somebody something goes in one ear, out the other. But if I frame it in a question where they're like, yeah, yeah, please tell me that.
Get them locked in.
Now they're locked in.
Right.
Keep going.
So we start explaining that,
Mhm.
right? It says we need to get these D3 levels up.
So typically, what people ask us to do, obviously, because they want to prevent, tell me the cancers it causes if you don't have it.
6 different tumors in the
Just give
body.
me a couple.
I don't know what the cancers are, but let's say, skin cancer.
Okay. So typically, what people ask us to do is kind of go over like, you know, having the right D3, like what cancers it would actually prevent. Do you want me to show you which cancers this would typically help prevent? Would that help you if I did that? Yeah, that would help me for sure. It's how you're framing that.
Right.
Instead of saying, we need to get you on this, whose opinion is that?
That's my opinion.
That's
Right.
yours. And they know you're biased because you're trying to sell them something, right?
Right.
So see how I'm typically what people ask us to do is typically go over how to prevent those 6 cancers. Do you want me to show you what we could do for you to help you like, drastically reduce you getting that? Would that help? Yeah, that would help. It- It's how I'm asking it and framing it.
Right.
Big difference.
I like that.
You're doing good. We
The
we tweaked some of the stuff
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
It
yeah,
will
yeah.
land a lot better. It'll
Uh,
be good.
I could sell a little bit,
Good.
but I could.
But you
I'm
probably want to
always
sell
willing to
more.
learn.
You probably
Yeah.
want to sell more. You're smart, right? Hey, this is
Unfortunately,
why I love working with high level entrepreneurs like you because you guys know that there's always an opportunity to grow, to expand, to get better at your skills, no
yeah.
matter what level you're at. That's why I love working with guys like you guys.
Unfortunately, I'm not selling D3 shots anymore. I'm selling bigger things. But the one thing that I love about this podcast, which
Mhm.
will have all of our team members listen to it, but also thousands of doctors, so their team members can listen to it as well, is that they need this, right? Because everybody gets kind of like focused in their own bubble,
Mhm.
and they think they know what they're talking about. Especially a lot of the salespeople, they get a little egotistic.
Yeah, the
Um,
know-it-allers.
right.
Yeah, there's 4 types of salespeople.
What are they?
4 types of salespeople, 4 types of business owners, 4 types of anybody in life. They're the first group is called the wingers. They wing everything. So if you're a salesperson or a doctor that's selling, they say something different to every patient. They don't know what works. They don't know what doesn't work.
Mm,
And when they don't make many sales, who do they typically blame? The prospects.
the
Prospects
prospects.
are
Yeah.
broke. They're mean. They're bad. They never blame their lack of skill level. And where do most of those salespeople go? They get fired, pushed out the door. Where do
Right.
most of those practices go? They go under. They go out of business because they don't know how to communicate. That's the winger, right? Second type of person is the dabbler. So the dabbler, they'll buy a couple sales books a year. Maybe they'll hear like a podcast like this where we share a few tips, because they're just tips, right?
Right.
Or maybe they'll, follow somebody like me on basic IG reels or YouTube videos or just basic content. And then they kind of believe the lie that if they just stay in long enough, if they get enough reps, that eventually, hopefully one day they'll figure it all out themselves, which we all know that strategy would take years, if not decades. And that's why most salespeople are average. They're dabblers. They dabble in it,
Right.
right? Name me like if you were a doctor and you just kind of dabbled in being a doctor, how good would you be?
That's not a good idea.
Probably not that good, right? And so if they ever get good, they play the numbers game, they work 14 hours a day and they eventually burn out. That's the dabbler. The
Right.
know-it-aller typically invest quite a bit of funding into sales training because they're smart. They want to sell. They'll get up to maybe multiple 6 figures a year. And then they get a big what? Head.
Right.
Big ego. Think they
Ego.
know
Right.
everything. And then they stop investing in their skill level. Income gets capped. That's the know-it-all. And then you have the ones who are committed to mastery. They're always investing in their skill level because they're smart, right? They don't want to learn from their mistakes because that takes years, if not decades. They want to learn from other people's mistakes so they don't make the same mistakes themselves. That's why they succeed 10 times faster. And that's your top 1%. That's why they
Right.
always stay in the top 1% because they're always out learning everybody else. That's the committed to mastery person.
I like
Think
that.
about your favorite doctors, best doctors in the world, wingers, dabblers, know-it-allers, committed to mastery. Best doctors in the world, very best doctors in the world, wingers, dabblers, know-it-allers, committed to mastery.
You know, that's a hard one for me to actually respond because I'm thinking about the
Do
doctors
the
that I like.
top doctors in the world always invest in their skill level, keep learning?
100%.
Committed
Yeah,
to mastery.
they're
Yeah.
committed to mastery. That's for sure.
Who's your favorite professional athlete?
Let's say A-Rod.
Yeah, I love A-Rod. Wingers, dabbler. Was he a winger, dabbler, know-it-all, or committed to mastery?
Committed to mastery.
Favorite
Yeah.
pop singer, favorite type of singer?
All committed to mastery. Yeah.
Anybody that anybody thinks is great.
Yeah.
Navy SEALs, top police officers, top parents, top pastors of a church. Wingers, dabblers, know-it-allers, committed to
Yeah.
mastery.
They live, breathe, and shit this
Committed
stuff.
to mastery.
Yeah,
There's a
100%.
reason why they're
Yeah.
at the top.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your professional input for a salesperson when it comes to talking versus listening?
In what context?
Well, you know, there's a lot of
You got to give me more,
They-
baby.
they-
What do you
they-
got?
well, we'll get there.
Do you want to
we
talk less than listen? Yeah, everybody knows
Right.
that.
Yeah.
The more you talk yourself out of the deal. It's more like you should be asking questions and listening probably 85 to 90% of the time,
Okay.
where they don't hardly know anything about you, but they feel like you understand everything about them. You know, I'm in a private mastermind with Tony Robbins, Nick Graciosi, the Zenith Group. They don't advertise it. There's 30 people a year. Still have to pay 250 grand by invite only. And we had an event a couple months ago in Mexico, and Tony's talking about the emotional connection, and Dean was. And I'll kind of take it a step further with sales. But in order to really master influence at the highest level for the good of humanity, right? To help people lose this weight, to get off drugs, whatever, to master persuasion, influence, sales, you have to master the ability to emotionally connect with that other human being where they feel like you understand them, their needs, their desires, their fears, even like their wants, even their fears, and do that without buying into their limiting beliefs or their story of why they can't do it.
Right.
If I buy into their story, I offer them no value. Now, if I come across where I'm judging them, where they feel like I'm judging them, probably not going to buy. So how do I emotionally connect where they feel like I understand them better than themselves? That's what we teach.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
Here and there.
You know, I'm going to talk about personal experience in
Okay.
business.
Yeah.
Right. And building a franchise system with multiple locations nationwide, having sales teams, etc.
How many of you guys got?
40 locations sold, half of them open.
Congratulations.
and
That's
scaling.
amazing.
And then, you know, we're on the distribution side, pharmacy side, where we have over 5,000 doctors that buy products from us.
Amazing.
So one of the things that I always see in business, and you probably see this all the time,
Mhm.
when things are not going in the direction that it needs to go, sales is always blaming marketing, and marketing is blaming sales.
That's typical in most businesses, most industries. Yeah.
How do you handle that as a business owner?
You know, what we do is our department heads, like our CMO, which is my business partner, Corey, meets with our VP of sales, who's over like our salespeople. We have like 45 salespeople. I mean, for sales training, we're the largest B2C sales training company in the world. We've only got 45 salespeople. Sales training is it's not like $1 billion corporation until you get into AI and some different things that we're doing. But we have meetings so they know what ads are running and what the avatar is coming from those ads. So we do a pretty good job on that, I feel like. But I feel like most kind of keep it separate. I think that's a big mistake for sure.
Yeah. Because you always see them. They're always kind of like,
Because if you know
butting
what
heads.
ads are running, like if your salespeople know, like, okay, we've got these 76 ad sets and they're attracting this type of avatar, it gives them an advantage of like kind of already knowing who they're going to call or who they're going to talk to before they even show up.
Right.
And I think most businesses don't do that, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
we do. I feel like we do a decent job of that. Could we be better? Yes, but we do a pretty good
You
job.
got to build that
What do you guys
bridge.
do?
Same thing. You
Same
know,
thing.
early on, when I started the company, it was something that we dealt with nonstop.
Yeah.
It was like the hardest part for me being a salesperson. I've been selling since I was a kid. You
Yeah.
know, I've always been hustling something.
Yeah.
The hardest part was when I had one of the sales guys, right, always blame marketing. Say,
Mm,
don't give me that shit.
yeah.
Stop blaming marketing.
Yeah.
You know, they brought the person in through the door.
Well, most
Yeah.
salespeople, if they don't really learn how to sell, are typically never going to blame themselves, right?
Right.
That goes against your ego.
Yeah.
So you're always going to blame the prospect, the leads are broke, they're bad. Most of the time, 99% of the time, it's a skill level. Because a lot of salespeople, like we have this one Facebook group that has about 200,000 salespeople in it. Okay. Called Sales Revolution. And you'll see like a client that would just post a testimonial, like, oh my gosh, I've tripled my closing percentages. I was making this, now I'm making this, or whatever they say. Okay. The first question, there'll be like 300 people ask them a question. You know what the first question they ask? What industry are you in? Why are they asking that? Because they think that they can't make that money because of their industry. It must be
Really?
that industry that you can make that. But the problem is then they go to that industry and they're like, wow, I can't make the same money that that person's going because they don't have the same skill level, sales ability. They haven't learned it yet.
Yeah.
It's an acquired
Yeah.
skill.
I've
They just jump from industry to industry thinking that it's the industry, but it's their skill level.
I've seen that, I've heard it, and I
Yeah.
tell people, "Hey, Snickers candy bars are only 50 cents," and trust me, that company's worth a lot of money.
Yeah. It's
So
it's
you
just
can make a lot of money selling small little
you
things,
gotta learn the right skills.
right?
Like life insurance is the biggest industry in the world we train, and you might sell policies where you're making 1,200 bucks up front. It's not a huge commission, but we got life insurance salespeople that make 200 grand a month in commissions. We train some of the biggest life insurance companies in the world, that crush it, billions of dollars a year. And that's small, paid upfront policies.
Yeah. Now, Jeremy, I've seen a lot of your content. There's content that you have out there that you talk about certain words that you should really stay away from. So I want to talk about
Trigger
that,
words.
the trigger
Yeah, there's
words.
probably several hundred, but yeah.
What are like the top 5 that you say,
Oh
"Hey,
God.
stay away from these words. It's gonna kill your deal."
Well, okay, so why do I say that? That's a question. Our brain, so the human brain recognizes patterns.
Okay.
Okay. So every prospect you're ever going to talk to has probably been approached by salespeople in the past. Yes or no? Of
Yeah.
course, right? Selling them anything from a vacuum cleaner to a life insurance policy to a car to, health products to cybersecurity for their offices. Okay. So if you say some of the same words that pretty much every salesperson that's ever sold them says, their brain picks up on that pattern. It's your survival part of your brain, keeps you safe, right? So why does that happen? Because the brain, we got this brain that's, I don't know, 2 or 3 million years old, or whenever God put the first humans here on the earth. I don't know when that was. It's debatable. And the brain was never built to thrive. It was simply built to survive, to keep you safe. So anytime the brain recognizes something that it considers bad, like, oh, salesperson bad, because how are salespeople viewed in society? High status or low status?
I'd say low
Low
status. Yeah.
status, of
Yeah.
course, but that's a whole nother
No,
subject
no
on
one
why.
likes to be sold to. That's why
But they do like to buy.
they like to buy.
There's a big difference
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, because if you feel like you're sold to, you're going to resist. But if you feel like it was your idea, it's a good idea. So the question is, how do you sell in a way where the prospect feels like it's their idea? That's self-persuasion. That's what we teach. Okay. So going back to the question. So the brain, anytime it feels like there's something new or something unfamiliar, something known, even though you might have pain, it's like the brain's last attempt to keep you in the status quo, to keep you safe. That's why you're like, they know they should do it. They should lose the weight. They should give what you offer. And then they say, yeah, we're going to do it. And then they don't do it. Does that make any sense?
Right.
Because the mind plays tricks on them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how do I get their guard down to like really open up? Go back to your question. I went off on 6 tangents. I was just going to answer that.
So the question, not now, I got to go back. Now I'm
That was a
losing
good
my.
question. I'm like, we went off
Help
on
me out,
tangent.
Lois.
We
What
went
was
up
that
on
question?
tangents, man.
Oh,
Oh, the
the
trigger
trigger
words.
words. The trigger
Yes.
words.
Yeah. So
see?
patterns. So they recognize the patterns. So when a salesperson comes up and talks to you and says, "Hey, how you doing today?" What immediately do you start to think? Do you think, "Wow, this salesperson really cares about my day? I'm doing great." Is that what you think?
No, absolutely not.
You think
And
what?
in my head, it's like,
Oh, he's
what?
he's just trying to get me to like him so
Yeah.
he can sell me his thing. So instantly your guard just went up. But how many salespeople do that sell anything?
Right.
99%. Would I be right? Any
Yeah.
industry. Hey, how's it going today? Hey, welcome in. How you doing today? See, the prospect knows you don't genuinely care about how their damn day's going. Even if you do, they don't believe you do because they're used to every salesperson that's ever tried to sell them anything say that. So it's a predictable question. Okay. So if they're walking into the office, how do I want to relanguage that? I could just relanguage like, hey, welcome into the office today. Are you guys out getting into trouble or what's going on? I can just make it kind of a little joke or something like, hey, welcome to the office today. What are you guys up to today? I just got to angle it a little bit differently. Don't say, how you doing today? Or how's your day going?
Yeah.
It's a pattern that every person's used to. Like if they just walked in off, do you ever get anybody that just kind of walks in or is it by appointment
Yeah,
only?
some people walk
So
in.
if they walk in, hey, welcome into welcome in today. Are you guys just kind of out looking around? Because let's say you go into like a store, like a furniture store or a car dealership, and the salesperson says, "Hey, how's it going today? Can I help you with something?" What do most people say? Just
No,
looking.
yeah, just looking, window shopping.
Yeah. So I can feed that objection back like, "Hey, welcome into the store today. Are you guys just kind of out looking around?"
Yeah.
So I just gave them the objection. Like, "Yeah, yeah. Okay, you know what you're possibly looking for?" And I'm right into
Yeah.
the conversation.
You're taking that guard down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm disarming the
Yeah. Yeah.
prospect.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So other trigger words would be,
You're a dangerous guy in the dating game, man.
well, I'm recently single as of about 4 months
Oh
ago,
man, ladies,
unfortunately. It's
beware.
okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's alright. No, that's a sensitive
so so
subject for
so
sure.
so let me ask you this, man. In this, I'm tapping into you personally because
Yeah.
I kind of want to see. I actually kind of want to ride with you next time you go buy furniture, go buy your next car.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
are you the kind of guy who gets like the best deals because of what you know,
Not
or
necessarily, I think some of the greatest salespeople in the world psychologically, um, like to buy things. It's like to pay full price.
yeah,
I sometimes negotiate a good deal, but, like, I don't negotiate a deal where I feel like it's a lose for the other person. I
right,
don't like that
right.
because I always say this, "You are the objection you give."
Mm,
You are the objection you give. So if you can't make a buying decision without talking to your spouse, you have to get external validation for your life, and a prospect gives you a spouse objection, you already believe that yourself. It's going to be really damn hard for you to overcome that spouse objection because you internally believe that you have to talk to your spouse before you make a decision.
right,
You are the objection you give. If you always say, I want to think things over, do more research, and the prospect tells you that, going to be hard for you to overcome that because you internally believe that it's a conflict in your psyche. That makes
how
sense?
do you get over that one when you have a prospect tell you, hey, I want to research this a little bit further before I come in?
What do you feel caused them to say that? Did they plan that out before they come in the office? Were they like, you know what? At the end, when they ask that closing question, I think the objection I'm going to give is I want to do more research and to have them call me back in 2 weeks. I think I'm going to go with that one. Did they plan that out? Did
Hmm.
they plan the objection out before
Yeah,
they came in?
I think a lot of people actually do.
They plan it out.
They, they,
They're
they,
like, okay, when they try to close me, I'm going to say I'm going to do more research for about 3 weeks and then I'm going to tell them to call me back, but I'm not really going to do more research.
yeah, it's almost like they're better off just saying, "Hey, I'm not ready to buy.
But
I'll
they
come back."
came in though.
Yeah.
See,
Well, I'm
that's a
thinking about
that's a
someone who's coming in, let's say, buying a new M8, right? And they want to get a good deal or get the one that they want or
so that
whatever.
all that
Yeah.
means is the prospect didn't build a big enough gap from where they are to where they want to be, where they felt there was urgency to buy now and not push it down the
Mm,
road. That's the
okay.
salesperson's fault because they showed up. They have some intent if they showed up.
Right.
So
Right.
what I'm saying is no prospect plans out an objection before they start talking to the salesperson.
Right.
That's a triggered reaction based off what you did in that process that triggered uncertainty in their brain. Uncertainty leads to what? Objections.
Right.
So if I can build a gap, if I can get them emotionally involved, or the emotional, because human beings buy on logic or emotion.
Emotion.
100%. Brain studies prove that. There's no debate. Okay, they justify with logic. I feel like a drink of water because I'm thirsty. Every decision you make starts with your emotional side of your brain. You
Right.
can't make a decision start with your logical side of the brain. Scientifically impossible. You start with the emotional side. So all that means is the prospect didn't get them to emotionally open up and tell them what was really going on and have the go back into their pain and then have that fear of future pain. That's why they feel no urgency to change. So if I can't help them relive their pain and then have a fear of future pain, they feel no urgency to what? Change. And that's why they don't buy. That's the salesperson's responsibility. They just didn't have the skill level yet.
Right.
Okay. So how do I overcome that objection? I typically, most of the time, try to prevent that objection. I'm more into objection prevention. Like if you want to get in the top 1%, if you want to make as a salesperson like millions of dollars a year as a salesperson working for companies, you have to get far better at preventing objections than overcoming objections. Just makes it easier. Now, if I still get the objection, it's a lot easier to help them overcome it. So if they're like, "Yeah, I just, I want to do some more research." Oh, yeah, that's no problem. Who are you looking at as far as research? And I'm
Right.
going to find out. Oh, I'm looking at this company and that. Yeah, yeah, they're fairly decent. I mean, when you met with them, because you mentioned you met with them earlier, what prevented you from going with them then? I'm going to find out. Whatever they say depends on the context. I
Right.
might say, so what do you feel like they were missing when they first started talking to you that caused you to feel like you needed to keep looking around? Well, I liked this, but we didn't like. Now they start to tell you what they didn't like. Now,
Right.
why would I want to know that?
Well, you don't want that to be the objection for your
Well,
sale.
I want to be able to pull that in and then reframe that that's what we do,
Right.
the thing that they didn't have. Does that make sense?
Right.
So I'm just pulling out. I'm pulling out what held them back from going with that other company they already did research on. So let's say that you go and you do all that research and you spend like the hours and weeks just researching everything methodically. And let's say you come back and really all three companies can solve can help you lose the 50 pounds around the same time. And let's say that the price points are somewhat similar. How would you then decide who to go with at that point? And whatever they tell you there, what am I going to do with that?
You utilize it as
I'm going to use that as
ammunition.
the most
Right.
important thing, and I'm going to close them on that.
Right. Right.
But do you see how I framed that though? So see how I framed it. I didn't say, let's say you go do all the research. How are you going to decide? That's not a frame. Notice how I make doing research sounds really exhausting and really bad. So let's say you go out and you do all that research. You spend hours, weeks methodically going through the computer, like all the Google searches, you looked at like all these different companies. And let's say after you do all those hours of that research that the three companies you're looking at, let's say that, you feel like all three of them can help you lose the 60 pounds around the same time. And let's say the price points are somewhat similar. Like, how would you decide who to go with at that point? Well, at that point, it would come down to what do they say? There's a selling point. I'm going to use that to sell them. That makes
Understood.
sense?
Oh yeah. Jeremy, I want to talk about I want to talk about overselling,
What does that mean?
selling past the actual close.
Tell me what that means in your mind.
So you already got to the point in time where they pull out their pocketbook, are ready to pay,
Yeah.
and they're still actively trying to sell them on either
What?
more or
Just
other stuff. Or
tell them more about the thing, or what do you mean?
yeah,
Okay.
over talking.
Probably not a good
What?
idea.
Do you see that often?
I mean, with salespeople that don't have the right skill level, yeah, for sure. So I'm still see the whole time when I talk about disarming the prospect, that's just not at the start of the conversation. That's everything I'm doing is continually disarming the prospect. I am disarming the prospect when they're paying. I'm disarming the prospect when they leave because I don't want them to call back and cancel or change their mind. So I'm
Right.
continually getting their guard down. So yeah, you don't want to sit there and just over talk. Now, that doesn't mean that they buy something and I can't cross sell and upsell them, but it's how I frame those questions. So let me give you an example. So have you ever noticed that there's companies that have a really shitty product or service, but it's like everybody's buying it? You ever
Right.
seen that?
Yeah.
Okay. And on the flip side, have you ever noticed companies that have like the greatest product or service on the planet, but hardly anybody's buying? Well, why is that? It's because the company that's selling the most, even though the thing is bad, knows how to frame that offer much better. So it's all about what we call the POV, the perception of the value. Salespeople are like, I got to give them value. No, you got to get them to perceive the value is far greater. It's the perception of how they value your thing, not the value itself.
Right.
Okay. So, like, imagine this. I was talking to one of my friends, Dan Henry, a couple months ago on a podcast. We talked about this. Imagine you have two identical family pictures. So, you know your family picture? You got
Right.
kids?
Right. No kids.
Okay. So, you and your wife.
Yeah.
Or let's say you and your wife and your parents and her parents. You got the family photo on the mantle. You
Right.
know the picture I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Let's say you have two identical ones. Now you have to go buy two picture frames. The first picture frame you buy is like immaculate gold. It looks like you went to Trump Towers and like, got like a gold case out of the case. Trump has everything gold or whatever. And you put on that picture frame. It's like immaculate. Best picture frame on the planet. Put it on the first picture. The second picture, you go to the flea market. You buy a picture that's tattered, got cobwebs, beat up, looks like crap. Same exact family picture, two different frames.
Right.
Which one are you buying?
A nice
The
frame.
one that's framed better.
Yeah.
You see, in your prospect's brain, their mind, all of what you guys do kind of all sounds the same because they don't know all the differences, right? They don't know all the background of the biohacking and all that stuff. Like it's not like your competitors are saying, "Yep, Sam's better than us. You should go with them. We're the 17th best in the market." They're all saying what? We're the number one. We're the
Right.
best, right? So in the prospect's mind, everybody kind of sounds the same. It's all noise. So what's going to be the difference is how you frame
How you frame
your
it.
solution, your offer that makes a difference,
Put
not
it
the actual features and benefits
put it in
itself.
the sexy frame, right?
It's all how you
That's
frame it, baby.
put it in the sexy picture
Yeah.
frame. So, all right, thank you for that. Sales process. Is it any different when you're selling initially versus retention sales to keep that customer?
And in what way? What's the context of the question?
For example, a patient comes, gets
Mhm.
on, let's say, hormone optimization.
Mhm.
We know that once you're on hormone optimization, you're going to have to probably stay on it for life.
Okay.
So you start seeing some of your patients fall off the program,
Okay.
knowing that they
Do you
shouldn't
know
fall off the
why they
program.
fall off? I can tell you why. Most of the time because they were externally motivated to do it rather than your reps knowing how to get them to internalize it and motivate themselves to do it.
Say that one more time.
There's a difference between external motivation and internal motivation. External motivation is like, let's say I go to a personal development seminar. I'm jumping up and down for 5 days. I'm going to change my life, change the world. 5 days later, where do I go back down to?
Right,
Because you were externally motivated.
right,
Okay. Internal motivation is what I'm talking about, self-persuasion. So, how do I build them into the identity of the person who always stays on the hormones? How do I build them into the identity of that person that is responsible, that always wants to do that? I get them with my questions I ask and how I ask the questions. Remember, your mom said it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
right,
Mama didn't understand what you meant. That's your tonality. Okay. So, how I ask certain questions causes the prospect to think deeper and internalize what I'm asking. And when they internalize what you're asking, that's when their emotions start to open up. Their emotions start to attach to wanting to do something about the problem and changing their situation, where now it's their idea, not your idea. And when it's their idea, it's always what? It's always,
right, right.
and they'll always stay on it. If it's your idea, good luck. A lot of people
Yeah.
cancel. That's a big
Because
difference.
one of the things that I hear a lot of the doctors when I tap in with them and see my conferences and stuff is, man, I get all these customers. We get them on the programs, but the LTV is not where it needs to be. That lifetime value of that customer.
That's one of the biggest reasons, external motivation, and they don't know how to frame them to keep them in. Like I can tell stories like, at the very end of like, it's in now, how long do they take it for each month, each week? I don't know how it works.
Y- Yeah, well,
Like, here's the thing.
it
Like, I
depends
always
what
want
they're
to say
on,
this,
right?
like companies and salespeople from your industry, from any industry, because we train every industry in the world.
Right.
Okay. There's 163 different verticals. We're in every one of those and all the subcategories. Yours is probably one of the top 20 that we train. Companies and salespeople don't come to us because they believe that we know more about their product, their service, and their industry better than they do. You know why they come to us? Because they know we know how to train them, how to sell that and frame their offer much better
Right.
than they do.
Right.
There's a big difference in that
Yeah.
product knowledge compared to knowing how to frame it and sell it. That makes sense. So if I frame it at the very end, that because you want them to pretty much, do they take it once a month? How often do they take it?
Weekly. It depends what hormones they're on.
Okay.
Everybody's a little
So
bit
I might
different.
tell a story about somebody that fell off it's interesting. So I want to frame it. Like, it's interesting. We had this client, gosh, it was a couple years ago. And what does this thing do? Does it help him lose weight? What does it do?
Testosterone gets you your mojo
Oh,
back.
mojo back.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there's this guy, it's very interesting, about a year ago. And I felt really bad for him because, he got all excited. He got on the testosterone. He started getting like bulky and big. And, his wife was really excited. And they just had this amazing love life after. And just something happened where he just kind of, unfortunately, just started like not taking it. He got busy and he got on the road. And then, when you don't start taking testosterone after a year or so, what typically happens?
Gain weight.
Yeah, he started gaining weight, like 50 pounds, and he just never really thought about the reason why he was gaining weight. And then all of a sudden now he wasn't very attractive to who?
His wife.
His wife.
His
So they
pecker's not
stopped,
working.
their sex life kind
Yeah.
of stopped. And then he comes back in 2 years and he's like, man, I've realized I didn't even take this for a year. And during that year, because of he gained like 50, 60 pounds back. Him and his wife got a divorce and like his whole life turned upside down. And a lot of
Right.
you got to tell a
It's the
true
truth though.
story.
That is a
You
true
tell a true
story.
story,
Yeah.
and he came back, and it was simply because he just stopped taking the testosterone. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Now, what did I just seed in that person's brain?
Well, that number one, they don't want to go into that
See,
for
I'm
sure.
not telling them, "Hey, don't do this because this could happen to you." I'm telling them a third party story about something that happened to somebody else. And that's easier for them to accept, where they start to be like, "Oh, I don't want to be like that
Yeah.
guy."
Right.
It's just how I'm framing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense?
Powerful.
I'd massage that a little bit more. That's just kind of off the cuff.
Yeah. No, listen, that's kind of the approach that I would take as well too, and that was right on point,
Yeah.
in my opinion. So, all right, let's talk about some of the cool stuff that you have going on with the
What do you want to
business.
know, man?
So, you you got some cool stuff happening. You guys
Some people say,
dabbling
at least
into AI.
my grandma tells me, you know.
So what do you guys got going on with the business? What's some of the new
Well,
stuff
so
that's happening?
we got approached by a company called Soar.ai about 9, 10 months ago. The CEO of that company is the former founder of Ancestry.com, Paul Allen.
Okay.
So the DNA.
Yeah.
So they sold Ancestry.com, what, 4 or 5 years ago for about 4.8 billion or something. And so Paul started his own like AI company. He's like a forward thinker, like a visionary, like a tech platform entrepreneur. And they were looking for a sales training company to be able to come in and actually like license a methodology, because there's not many sales training companies that have a methodology they follow. It's like a guru that just personality sells,
Right.
basically. We actually have a methodology that every industry follows, right, to get those results. And so we signed a deal with them, and I said, hey, rather than licensing out NEPQ, I'll only do it if you start a partnership with me. And so, because we have about a little bit under 34,000 hours of my training, from anywhere from like our training courses for all the industries we train, from reels to YouTube videos, like everything. It's all like 34,000 hours. And so salespeople and companies have always kind of asked, like, how do we have Jeremy all the time? Because I'm just one person. Now we've got other sales trainers as well, but they want me. Well, I can't be 75,000 different places every single day, right? So now AI has my brain. So we have something called 7Q.ai, where basically companies, very similar. How familiar are you with like Gong?
Not familiar at all.
So Gong is a platform that reviews sales calls. And
Okay.
but it's very generic. It'll say like, "Oh, you need to get better at overcoming the I want to think it over objection," or "Oh, you need to get better at asking questions." Okay, Skipper, what questions? What should I ask? There's no methodology. It's very generic.
Right.
Okay, and
Right.
that's a $6 billion a year business. So we wanted to have enterprise value in our business as well, besides just a training company. And so we partnered with Paul. So he owns 50% of our AI and we own 50%. And we have 7Q.ai that basically reviews your sales conversations. It's me, my brain, from all my training. And it shows you exactly where you lost the sale. Oh, right there, that 3 minute and 30-second 7 mark. When you ask that question, defensive tone, you see how his guard went up? You should have asked that question in a concerned tone, the tone that shows empathy, and his guard would have went down. Go here to this training where Jeremy shows you how to do it. And it sends them like a 10-minute clip of a training where I teach that specific tonality for that industry. It's that
Nice.
nuance. You're talking about
Wow.
34,000 hours. And we feed it every week. There's probably another 10 hours every week of training going into it.
And it just
So
gets
it
better.
keeps learning, keeps
Right.
getting
Yeah.
better. And we have that feature. It also does role playing with you. It's pretty cool. Like where I'm role playing with you based on the methodology for every industry. It's very industry specific. It's pretty cool. And then we have a feature called AskJeremy.ai. So you can ask me any question. Hey, I sell, health and wellness, and a prospect came in today, and about 3 minutes in, something happened, and he said, "Hey, can you just tell me how much it's going to cost? What should have I said?" And then I tell you what to say. So
Wow.
it's like you have me in your pocket all the time.
Jeremy, do you know that this platform will probably become better than you? I mean,
That's
that's what
that's
AI can do.
look, that's my job. So my brain, whether I'm here or not, is going to be in that thing. So 50 years from
Yeah.
now, yeah, it's really good. But I've got to keep feeding it, because here's the thing: AI. Remember, human beings don't buy on logic; they buy on emotion.
Mm.
So until AI knows how to tap into emotional drivers in a human being by shifting their tone, because that is a acquired skill you have to learn, it's very logical based. So that's why when you have AI agents that like sound like they're reading from a script, is because they don't know how to tune into and read the tonality
Right.
fluctuations that somebody like me would.
You think you'll get there?
I would have to train how to do it. But it is being trained how to do it right
That's
now.
actually scary,
Yes,
man,
it
when you
is
start
pretty
thinking
scary.
about that.
But remember, selling is not something you do 2 people. Selling is something you do 4 people.
Right.
So if I don't know how to shift my tone where that prospect feels like I'm genuinely concerned about the consequences if they don't change, they might not open up and buy from me.
Right.
And I can't help them if they don't buy from me. Because they don't buy from me, they stay in the status quo and their problems stay the same, right? So I'm not doing it to them, I'm doing it for them. That's what selling is.
Yep.
So yeah, so we have so they want to check it out. They can go to askjeremy.ai. We give them like a free trial for like 14 days, and if they want to continue with it, which most people do, I think it's like 47 or 57 bucks once a month to sell more. It's a lot of people would say that's probably a no-brainer.
Nice.
You might make more than $57 more in sales
Yep.
by asking me questions every day.
Jeremy, this is a health and wellness podcast, man. You're well groomed, physically fit. How important?
Well, here and there, I eat a lot of blueberries. That's a trick.
Yeah,
And we got good genetics. Good genetics. Every male in my family looks about 10 years younger. It's kind of crazy.
How important is it to actually take care of your health as a salesperson?
I think it's important for anything, right? Because it's longevity. Now, there's some people out there like, oh, if you're out of shape, you're not going to sell that much. I haven't seen that. I've seen people that are 200 pounds overweight that are top sellers because it's their skill level, what they're saying, what they're asking. Now, do they have as much energy? No. So they drink more coffee and Monster energy drinks, which is bad. So that's bad for you.
So you're not that sales coach like the Andy guy who makes the fat guy take off his shirt?
Oh, dude, I don't see. I'm sure Andy's great, man. I don't know Andy. He's their headquarters are in Scottsdale too, but I don't know him. I'm sure he's a great guy, right? He's a great motivator. He's
right.
physically fit. I mean, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, right? You
Yeah.
know, I'm sure if I met him, I'm sure we'd have a great conversation. Oh, people always tell me, I get on podcasts, what do you think about Cardone or Belfort or Elliott? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never met them. I'm sure they're great guys.
Right.
Everybody has their weaknesses, their strengths. Like, everybody's great in their own way,
100%. So I want you to, the next question here, Jeremy, I want you to take the next couple of minutes. I want this answer to come from the heart.
Okay.
Right. And I want you to let the world know, what is the biggest problem you see when it comes to sales? And what is the true solution to fix that problem?
Do you want me to tell you the truth?
Nothing but the truth.
The biggest problem in sales is the problem that you don't know you have. Let me repeat that. The biggest problem in sales is the problem that you don't know you have. Because if you don't know what your problem is, how will you ever fix it? That's the biggest problem. So most salespeople have no idea where they're losing the deal. And they go and change things and they get worse. Because they just don't know. That's the biggest problem in sales. That's the reality. I could give you a heartfelt answer, but that's the truth.
What's the solution?
Well, just like anything, right? I mean, you're smart. You know this. To master anything, what do you have to do? You have to have a step-by-step plan, probably taught by people who've mastered the thing itself. So if you want to get really, really good at selling, go find a company or a person or whatever who's mastered the thing you want to master, right? I was texting Hormozy. We're not like personal friends or anything, but every once in a while we'll text. And we were talking about like all these coaches out there that say, we're going to help you, scale your business to 300 million a year. But then when you look at their history, they've never did that in their own business.
Right.
Or sales trainers like, we're going to help you make all this money, but they never made that much money as a salesperson. So how are you going to hit your sales targets? How are you going to scale your business if you're taught by people who've never done the thing that you want to do to that level? It's like Michael Jordan says it best. You can shoot 1,000 jump shots a day, but if you're taught the wrong technique, you're still not going to be that great at basketball. It's just a bunch of imperfect practice.
Right.
So you want to have perfect practice, and be able to practice that. So you want the right techniques. So how do you solve it? Step-by-step plan taught by people who've mastered the thing itself. You do that, it's pretty damn hard to fail. Like you have to try to fail at that point. Right?
Right.
That's what I would say.
Yep. Powerful. All right, we're going to have a little fun here.
Give it to me. What do we got? You going to ask me like what my favorite vegetable is or something?
That could be it, man. That could be it. But I think your favorite vegetable, if I had to pick, you look like a kale kind of guy. Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I love roasted Brussels sprouts and
Oh, I
roasted
like those.
cauliflower.
So yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
that sick? You go to the restaurant, the
No, I
steak,
like that.
roasted Brussels sprouts, just pile on the roasted Brussels sprouts.
I love
I don't need any
Brussels
carbs.
sprouts,
Just give me
man.
the roasted Brussels sprouts.
So one of my favorite podcasters, man, Stephen Burlett with the Diary of a CEO. He came
Yeah,
out with
okay,
these
yeah.
conversation cards. So I'm gonna
That's so
let you hold
cool.
on to that.
Okay.
You'll take that sleeve off,
Amazing.
and you're gonna pull out 2 cards out of anywhere. I don't know what the card is gonna say,
Oh boy.
but you're gonna read the card and you're gonna answer whatever's on the card.
Oh my God. This is awesome. I got to do this on my show. This is a brilliant idea, man. How long you been doing this for? This one? Did you
Just a
start?
bit, a few months.
Okay. What scares you the most today? What scares me the most today? That's from Gary Vee. What scares you the most today? Me personally, I think what scares me the most is failed relationships.
Mm,
You ever had a failed relationship where you
Money.
were like so in love with somebody and it didn't work out? I
Yeah.
think that scares me because I got out of one of those recently, and it's kind of scary because you go back and you're like, where did it all go wrong? It was so great for so long, and then it just nosedived. And so it's like it's kind of the same thing where I talk about the biggest problem in sales is the problem you don't know you have. So now I'm going back as like, well, what problem do I not know I have?
Mm.
And you got to hire people to help you find that stuff. So I'm starting to take my own advice. I got to hire relationship coaches and stuff like that. Like, what's the biggest problems? Because your relationships is everything. You know what I mean? So that, if I'm being real with you, that's what I'm scared of. That's
That,
the truth, man.
that makes sense, man. That's a powerful one.
Yeah, because if I ever get in another relationship again, like I don't want to go backwards.
Right.
Got to figure
Right.
that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So another one.
One more.
Hopefully that was heartfelt.
Mhm.
Okay. This is by Sir Richard Branson. What did you learn from your greatest failure? Yeah. What is my greatest failure? I'm not going to stick on the relationship again because we just talked about that. I think one of my greatest failures was I invested, can I cuss? A shit ton of money with one of my really closest friends about 12 years ago.
Mm.
And it went belly up in about 6 months. Yeah, about $4 million. One shot.
He put in 4 too
No, I invested in his own company.
in his company.
He had a startup company.
Oh man.
He ended up spending it on like stuff outside the business we found out later, and then like fled the country. Lost $4 million. That was a big mistake.
You guys still friends?
No, obviously not.
Never know, man.
That was a
Never
big
know.
mistake. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Those were good.
It is what it is.
Those were good cards, man. We'll try to get you a little vulnerable here and open up a bit.
There you
I
go,
like those
man.
cards. Those cards have actually made people cry on the podcast. So you never know
I
what
wasn't
you're
going
gonna
to go
get.
through the relationship on the second one. This is too fresh. It's only been about 4 months. It's a little bit fresh for me, you know?
How long were you guys
Takes a while.
together for?
2.5 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
She lives in Miami too. That makes it worse.
Oh.
Now I'm here.
No wonder you were down there earlier, right?
I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah.
So, Jeremy, right now, man, there's a big movement happening. It's called the Maha movement, Make
Yeah.
America Healthy Again.
About Robert Kennedy.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
that guy.
So what do you think about this movement and what they're doing?
It's about effing time.
Right.
It's like all these politicians, like, just it seems. I don't want to judge, but it seems like from an outsider's perspective that they're just kind of paid out by these drug companies just to fill you with drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Now that might be an overstatement by my part. I'm not an expert in that.
No, you're
But
right.
It
I'll be the
feels
first person to say you're right.
feels like
Yeah,
it. Let's just say
100%.
it feels like it. Now, are there some, medical procedures and drugs that are good for you that have done a lot of good? Yes. I don't think it's black or white. I think there's some gray area, but I'm not like all the way like never do anything like this, always do this, but I would lean more towards the healthier route for sure.
Awesome.
For sure, 100%. So I think it's a great thing. I hope it changes society.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just awareness.
That's the mission, man.
It's awareness.
It's happening little by
Yeah.
little.
If there's like studies that are being hidden about pregnant women, what was it, taking Tylenol? I don't know
Tylenol,
how to say it, but and they're being hidden. by the drug companies, that's a big issue. That's
Right.
fraud. That's a huge fraud. And politicians should, from both parties, should be. That shouldn't be a partisan thing.
Right.
Like that's just a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both parties should be all over that.
And I like what you just said about that. Like taking care of your health
Yeah.
should be nonpartisan.
Yeah, like
You know?
Republicans and Democrats
Right.
both should want to take care of their health
Right.
and make kids healthy.
Right.
Like there shouldn't be any partisan thing, no matter who's president, who's in charge of Congress or the Senate. Like a lot of the stuff, there shouldn't be any partisan issues. I'm like, it's just either right or wrong.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Agreed. So as we wrap up here, man, if there is someone listening or viewing this podcast that really resonates with today's message, what is that one thing you can leave them off with?
Success is simply a choice. Choose well.
Mm,
If I look at what causes somebody to be successful, they simply have to decide they're going to be successful and they do the things that successful people do. It's a choice.
right. And if people want to find you, where can they find you?
They just follow me on Instagram, follow my verified account, Jeremy Lee Minor. If they want to look at our AI stuff, just have them go to askjeremy.ai, but they can follow me on Instagram as well, Jeremy Lee Minor. It's my verified account.
Amazing. Jeremy, it was a pleasure to have you on a Healthy Point of View podcast. This was very informational. And I
We
hope
did little
people take this.
tactics there.
Yeah,
It was good,
yeah,
man. Kind of some little tactical training. It was
yeah.
good.
I love it. Appreciate you,
Thanks for
brother.
having me on. It was an honor,
Absolutely.
man.
Perfect. Guys, you heard Jeremy over here. Success is a choice. You got to make the right choice. You know, my father always told me every great athlete has a coach. You got to get the right coach who's been through it to be able to give you the guidance to take your business to the next level. You guys know how I am. I only bring people on this podcast that I truly believe in the mission, and people that don't hide behind smoke and mirrors, right? No fuzzy math. Guys, check out Jeremy. Make sure you tap all the links down below. Share this with your friends and family. Someone needs this, right? Make sure you leave all the comments, subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one.